responses to the answers, or if you want to just type it in the chat. We'll see how this goes. So I will get started, and let me get the screen share back on. And I guess, so we're recording. I'm assuming we're recording. Let me see if I have any text from you.
Yep, we're recording.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Nice. So I'll get started. Let's get these slides up. And I guess I'll share this screen. We'll go into, nice. All right. Oh. Now we get back to the first slide here. There we go. Awesome. So let me just make sure I got everything straight so I can see everybody here on the right. I'll move this over here. Nice. All right. So welcome. This is Investing 101. It's a pretty, I probably have like 8, 9, 10 slides here. Like I've mentioned a minute ago, a lot of this is participation. So I used to have this slide here, Carl's Mortgage Calculator. It's a good, this is my favorite mortgage calculator. If you guys want to, actually, you don't have to download that. I have another one that I use. I'll put the link here. Just, it's a good resource, a US mortgage calculator. If anyone's interested when you're running your numbers, I love this site and I use it a lot. So let me post this in the chat and then we'll get started. How do I post something in the chat? I don't know how to do that. Anyway, it's usmortgagecalculator.org. Great resource. So get back into it. Cool. And how do I see myself? All right, whatever. All right, so this is Investing 101. And the goal of this class is to help make your life awesome. So let's get right into it. We're gonna go over a couple things today. We're gonna talk a little bit about me. Why would you invest in real estate? How do you succeed as an investor? How to set goals. We'll talk about building your team. And we'll go through some resources that have helped me, and then some other thoughts. And then I usually like to have like 15, 20 minutes of Q&A at the end. And then I also have some other topics like where should I invest? And we can go into some other slides like partnerships and all that if we have extra time at the end here. Let me just look at one more thing. There we go. Oh, that's not it. Okay. Oh, do that either. All right. Cool. So, a little bit about me. Hold on, Leah. Are you? You guys can hear me, right? Because I can't see myself.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah,
I don't know what I did. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna move it over to the other screen. I wasn't even sure if I was talking to myself. Great. So, cool. A little bit about me. I think most of you who are on here, let me see here. Got 5 or 6 of you know who I am, but I'm your average realtor. I'll move myself over here so I can see. I'm just a guy who doesn't want to be selling houses for the rest of his life, and I think that it makes a lot of sense to invest being a real estate agent because we're already in the business already. And so I've just had some of my goals here kind of listed out. My goal is just that I got the sales business, which I kind of see as that's my day job, and then I spend most of the rest of my free time trying to figure out how to make good investments so that in 5 or 10 years, I don't have to be selling as many houses, and the cash flow from our investments can be supporting our living expenses. So I think about investing in a couple of different ways. Our main goals are like to build cash flow, monthly cash flow from the properties that we buy, build equity in our properties so that if something happens in your life and you need a chunk of money, you can sell something and get that. And right now, this is really what I'm focusing on, especially during this time where we have all this downtime, where we have free time to like get our systems together, building scalable systems, which I'll share my screen a little bit later on and talk about one of the ones that we're using to organize our rehabs right now. And we also don't like to manage properties directly ourselves. So our goal, like long term, is to avoid property management, and we try and minimize risk, which is very, very general to say. But I think one of the things that holds a lot of people back when they're investing is they're worried about something breaking or losing all their money in investment. And there's almost in every step in everything you do, whether you're flipping houses, buying rentals, like whatever, there's a lot of different ways to minimize risks and have the right insurances and buy in the right areas and all that, so that you don't lose your shirt doing this. So some of the projects that I'm working on right now, we're pretty specialized, and all the properties I've bought so far in West Philly, and we're doing this project Osage Pine, which is we're on the tail end here. We're actually going to be selling. I have 3 more to go. We bought 36 houses from the city. It was a little over 2 years ago now. We've been rehabbing the whole thing, and now we're almost done. We've sold, I think we're closing number 32 on Wednesday, and then we'll be out of the whole project probably in like 2 to 3 months. So, and then the rest of our projects are like 1 to 4 unit buildings in West Philly, in Cobbs Creek, Parkside, Belmont, all around West Philly. So what are some of the reasons you would want to invest in real estate? So real estate's tangible. This is really obvious, and some of the stuff is going to sound pretty basic. Even though I'm a numbers guy and I love math, I don't really know a lot about stocks or bonds or day trading and all that. I think that's a lot more. That game, it's a totally different game I don't really understand quite yet, and when the economy goes down, which is what's happening right now, you can lose a lot of what you think you have really quickly. So I like real estate because it's tangible. People are always going to need a place to live, always, forever. You have tons of tax benefits owning real estate. Some of the major ones, like if you own rental properties, which is what we're building up. Real estate, you have to take depreciation every year. So even though you could be like making money, like one of the first duplexes I bought at 60th and Catherine, bought it for like $125,000. The place makes probably $400 or $500 a month, but on my tax return, you can, after the depreciation, I actually save like $2,000-3,000 a year on my taxes. So it goes against my sales income. So it's really cool. Not only can you make monthly cash flow, but you can also save at your taxes in the end of the year. That's just those are a couple ways. But it's very cool when you add this all up, and all of a sudden you have 20, 30, 50 rentals. It really makes a big difference. You can be really creative. There's tons of different ways to make money. You could wholesale, you could flip houses, you can buy rentals, you can raise money and do syndications and buy large apartment buildings. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat here. You can be a realtor, which we all are realtors, and then you can learn how to invest without necessarily putting a lot of your money at risk, which I think is the coolest part about being a realtor. So, and it's very accessible. There's really no barriers to entry in sales or investing. I think you could go outside. I mean, you wouldn't be knocking on doors today, but because of this whole virus situation, but you can start from nothing and find out how to generate leads and start getting into action, and then find motivated sellers and lock property up under contract and then closing that property. And then you can go through the whole process without having a ton of resources, which I had zero resources, or very few resources when I started doing this. So, and the last thing is you're able to leverage real estate, which we all know. We all work with buyers every day that buy properties with FHA loans, and they're only putting down like $10,000 to buy a place that might be worth $300,000. So it's really cool. Leverage is like a double-edged sword. It could be super dangerous, and you can lose your shirt if you use it wrong. But if you use it right, you're able to scale a lot faster than, for example, if you're trading stocks and you only started with like $10,000, you have to make a huge return over a long period of time to be able to live off of that income and not have it take 50 years of investing. So, and also knowing about investing, and let me check one thing. Cool. Knowing about investing increases your value as a realtor. When you learn about construction and how the process works, you're going to get better at helping people when they're going through home inspection issues. You're going to know what stuff the home inspector is inflating and what he's not. I mean, it's helped me dramatically. It takes a lot of the stress. Like, I don't really worry about deals falling apart over home inspections these days because I know what stuff costs. And you can properly advise people before they make offers, and you'll be able to recognize problems before you even get under contract in the first place. And then why not? We're in the business already. We're helping lots of people build equity already through buying and selling property, so you should be doing it yourself. So I got some steps here, how to succeed as an investor. So the first step, which is what you're doing right now, is educating yourself. I'm a super high D and just like to jump into things, which maybe I'll tell a story in a little bit about how that went wrong the first time I started investing. But you want to make sure you get educated. Most of this stuff is commonsensical, and but you want to learn the basics about the area you're going to invest in, how the financing works, what can happen to you if things go wrong, like what kind of tenants you're going to be renting to, or what kind of buyers you're going to be selling to, what area, whatever your strategy is. Make sure you get your knowledge straight first. You want to identify your fears and your limiting beliefs. For a long time, for me, I started this like 10 years ago, and I was on like 20 or even a little bit younger than that. I was 19, and I was scared for a long time that I was too young and people wouldn't take me seriously. That was one of my big things. Also, I didn't have any money at all. So you want to make sure you identify that and then come up with a plan about how you're going to get around that. And most of the times you get around it by just doing something about it and taking action. And then that's the next step. You're going to take massive action. If you have no leads and have no money right now, you're going to go find a free way to market to people and find motivated sellers. That's the quickest way you're actually going to make, regardless of what you do, it's the quickest way you're gonna make money investing, I think, to find a direct lead to a motivated seller. So also, you're going to make sure you have to network. You have to build your team, which I believe is the next slide here. You have to put everything in place, especially if you don't have all the money and you're going to be partnering with people. You have to have everything in place. So you have to have your lenders, your hard money lenders, your refinance lenders, your contractors, all the subs you need, electricians, plumbers, mechanics, framers, all that. You want to be lining up partners because it's much easier to do this business partnering up, I think. People have different opinions about that. You want to be, we already talked about marketing. You need to be able to find motivated sellers, and you want to have a good network of wholesalers and all that. If you don't want to build a system to find motivated sellers, you need to be able to talk to people. You need to be able to find people who are in touch with the motivated sellers. We bought a lot of places from wholesalers. I bought stuff off the MLS. We have a pretty decent network to help us get properties and projects. So, and then you want to, and that everything I'm talking about is building your team, which I definitely think that's the next slide here. I don't know if there's a way to share attachments here, but I'll at least pull this over so I can share. You guys can see it on my screen. And this is just like, the next couple steps are just like what you would do as being a realtor. You're going to do your lead generation, and then you're going to set appointments with motivated sellers or partners or whoever. And then you're going to go on the appointments. And then eventually you're going to lock up your first property. You're going to put it under contract. It doesn't matter whether you have money to close on it or not. You're going to find a good opportunity and put it under contract. And then you're going to close on it, whether it's with your money or you're selling it to somebody else. And then you're either going to, if you close on it yourself, you're going to perform the improvements. Most properties that we find, like, you need to be able to, it's rare to find a place that's like undervalued that is in really good shape. So most of the time you're going to have to do some sort of rehab to it. So you're going to make sure you get through that whole process and you do the rehab, and then you're either going to sell it or rent it and refinance it. And then you're going to do it again. That's all we do. You can just do it over and over and over again until you have enough properties to get to wherever the heck you want to go. So I'm going to pull over this. I would usually hand this spreadsheet out in person, the building your team spreadsheet and SMART goals. So this is the interactive part, by the way. So I'm going to have to figure out how to take out the chat box. So even if you guys are muted and don't have your video on, I'd like you to please interact with me for a couple minutes. I don't even know how to get to our conversation. How do I get to our conversation? Here we go. Cool. So, assuming you guys can see this, this is the SMART goals worksheet. Can anybody tell me what SMART stands for? Or any part of the acronym? I'll wait. I'll give it 20 or 30 seconds. Feel free to type it in or unmute yourself. And we can, Leah, do you know if they're able to unmute? People can unmute themselves, right? I text you. Can people unmute themselves? Okay, great. Thank you for that, Kayla. So it's specific. You know what you may know what the whole thing is for. Does anyone know what M is for? It's measurable. Great, cool. And I'll just fill in the rest. A is achievable. And then R, thank you, Kayla, is realistic. And the T is the most important one. Realistic. T is the most important one. It's time bound or timely, however you want to call it. Whenever you make goals, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to make $100,000 in real estate. That's not going to cut it. You need to give yourself a time frame. So an example of a SMART goal could be, say you haven't bought any properties yet and you want to get your first one. So I could say one of my goals was I'm going to buy a single family house in West Philly, but that's between $80,000 and $100,000 by December 21st, 2020. That's an example of a SMART goal. So what I usually do is, if you guys can take a minute and just come up with one single goal, I mean, you could write it down or type it out. It'd be great to have people share. And either you can type it in the chat, or if you feel like unmuting yourself, just come up with one single goal. We'll give it to till 12:20. This is really important. I don't want to just get you guys excited and give you a bunch of information. Part of this, the whole point of this class is to get you into action. So if you need help coming up with a goal, you can chat or feel free to unmute yourself. But I'd like for you to at least tell me. You don't have to put your goal in the comments, but tell me once you're done, please. And while we're doing that, I'll set up this next one. We'll go over building your team. Cool. Oh, cool. Awesome. So Corey, if you can get a little specific with that, where's your first round going to be, would be my first question. How are you going to buy it? And around how much do you think it's going to cost you to buy it? Or do you have an area? Have you identified an area yet?
Hey, Rodney, I'm just going to jump on. It's just easier to
Cool.
talk than type.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of one of the things that is kind of holding me up. So I live in the suburbs, and obviously the growth, year-over-year potential is definitely not what it is in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not, like specific areas. I know the suburbs a lot more than I know the city.
Okay. So how do you plan on financing? Let's just start with the financing. And do you know how you're going to finance it yet? Like wherever it is, whether it's in the suburbs or the city?
No, probably just, out of my own pocket. I mean, not cash, but through like a mortgage, not like hard money or anything like that.
Okay. So Like, you're going to qualify for like an FHA or conventional mortgage?
Correct.
So what I would maybe just say is just maybe give yourself a price point. Like, you'll figure out what area you want to buy in. I don't know which suburb you're in, but at least if you get yourself, like, I don't know if you've gone through the pre-approval process yet, but talk to a lender, get pre-approved, figure out how much money you have or you're going to save up. And like, let's say you're going to, you qualify for an FHA loan and you're going to save up 10 grand and you're going to, or I don't know, $10 to $15,000, and that'll get you a $150,000 house. That's at least a start. Like, you're going to buy a house with an FHA loan under $150,000 by the end of the year, and then you can figure out what area you want to go in afterwards. I see Kayla's here. So North Philly, $50,000. It's tough to get a loan for only $50,000 unless you're getting a hard money loan, Kayla. But that's a good start. And I encourage you guys to look for small multi-units too. You can do exactly what I did. My first place was, like I said, it was like 100. They were asking. It was a bidding war. They listed it like 110, and I offered way more than what they were asking because the values. There was a duplex on the 6025 Catherine Street, two-bedroom units, real simple place. I see your question, Corey. I financed that duplex with an FHA loan. I actually did a small 203K loan. I bought it for like 132 with a 5% assist. And you can use your commission towards the down payment, which is really cool. So the FHA is 3.5% down. I had a 3% commission, which covered almost all that. And I got back the last month in security for the one tenant that was there. So the whole thing ended up it was probably like $3,000 out of pocket. It was almost nothing once I got the security deposits back. So after that, I partnered up, and then that's how we bought the rest of our properties so far. So I didn't have all the funds myself, to answer your question. So, but you can start. The FHA loan is like a godsend. I highly suggest starting with that if you can qualify for conventional financing, or if not, you need to go either hard money or find a partner. So, all right, we'll move on. If you guys want me to send this, if we can send this out afterwards, if you like. I'm going to go through real quick the building your team spreadsheet, which it's not letting me drag it over to our screen. Whoops. This is also something that's really going to help. There we go. So let's move this over here. This is going to sound, this part may sound really basic. All right. If you don't have all the money to buy all the properties that you need to get where you're going to go, you may need to partner with people at times. What I've found is it's extremely, extremely valuable to have your team put together. This is how you're going to convince people to want to partner with you. If you come to someone and you say, look, I don't have any money, but I have all this. I've got the contractor, the architect, the engineer. I have all the mechanical guys. I say 2 or 3. You know, you've had conversations and you get to know what all this is going to cost. And I have all these contacts, and I've got the roofers, and I've got everybody. I also have all the contacts for the lenders, who we're going to use for the hard money, who we're going to refinance it with, what the terms are going to be. I know all the wholesalers that we're going to get all the properties for. If we have any problems, you see at the bottom of this spreadsheet here, you're going to have to evict someone at some point in time. We're going through our first eviction right now. We've had 2 ejectments in the past 2 years. You're going to say, hey, if we have a problem with some of our tenants, I've talked to the eviction attorney. I know exactly how much it's going to cost. I know exactly how long it's going to take. And this is the guy we're going to use. If we have other issues, here's our other attorney. I have an accountant who's going to help us keep track of. By the way, your accountant and your bookkeeper can be the same person. A lot of accounting firms also do bookkeeping. But this person is going to do all of our bookkeeping, which is really, really important, so that we can keep track how much money we're making. These are all the material suppliers. If you have all this stuff together, it is really, really easy to get someone to give you money. This is what's going to get someone to just have that level of trust. And I can't say it enough. And I go over this, and I think I've had some people come to this class several times, but don't have this together. Oh, we have more people up here now. So please, 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 we can send this to you. We can make a link or whatever. But if you, even if you're just investing by yourself, you should have this list together. Yeah, Leah, I don't know if you can post maybe a link, maybe if you could put this somewhere in Dropbox in the next couple minutes, and then we can cut. Oh wait, it is in Dropbox. If you could find the Dropbox link and maybe put that in the chat along with the SMART goals spreadsheet for people. That way people can download this before we forget. So anyway, having this together is like this. It's huge value. You really have to do this. This is exactly what I did. I literally printed. I didn't use this particular sheet, but when I started, it took me a long time. It took me like years to really get a lot of these, get relationships with a lot of these people who I really want to use. But this is how I did it. So let's get back to the slides here. That's almost all the slides I have. I'll go through an example of one of the systems we're using afterwards. How do I make this full screen again? So some of the resources that have helped me at the very beginning. I'm a huge podcast listener. The REI Diamonds podcast by Dan Breslin is really cool. He's a guy he lives in Chicago now, but he was a big he wholesales in Philly, Chicago, and like somewhere down south in Florida. He's got a lot of great episodes. They're probably up to like 100 now. Dan Breslin's podcast, the Bigger Pockets podcast, I didn't used to like as much, and I do now because I think they've gotten better with their interviewing and like spend less time talking about nonsense. I also listen to a multifamily one if you guys are interested in investing in multifamily. It's a guy called Michael Blank, spelled like blank. That's a really good podcast. And yeah, those are the 3 podcasts I'm listening to right now. Flip to Freedom is a great resource about wholesaling by Sean Terry. Another guy who probably has hundreds of episodes on how to, he talks about anything you could ever possibly want to know about wholesaling. Rich Dad Poor Dad is the book that started it all for me in Cash Flow Quadrant and all the other ones he's got. He's got some to talk about tax, how to save on taxes. There's probably like 15 books. That whole series is really good. The Urban Land Institute is a great channel if you guys are interested in commercial real estate, which is very different. That's not really my specialty, but that's one of the few places I've found that like this guy, John McNellis, has a couple good lectures where he talks like very openly about how to become a commercial real estate developer. He also wrote the book, which is the next one, Making It in Real Estate, Starting Out as a Developer. Really good book. The Millionaire Next Door is a great book, I think, just to read in general, that it talks about what the real profile of a millionaire is. It's not what you think. I used to have these images in my head about what I think people with money look like. People look like who have money, and it's the punchline is they're just like us and they look just like us. And obviously, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller is an awesome book that goes very, very detailed into the numbers. Too, if you're buying a property, they give a lot of examples in the book. If you're buying 1 or 2 properties a year with such and such mortgage, like how much money you're going to make over your lifetime, and it really makes a point, because you end up with millions and millions and millions of dollars more than had you not been investing. So, and then where should I invest? I don't think I put anything in this slide. Whoa. Wait a minute. Is that our last slide here? Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, this will be we'll go through this. So I'm just going to open up all these points at the beginning. So how I think about areas to invest, and Corey, this might help you. I classify areas in my head from A through D. So in A, it's pretty simple. And really, there's pluses and minuses too. So like Rittenhouse Square, A+ area, super high rents. North Philly, Logan, parts of North Philly were really bad, violence, drugs, crime, all that. That's the bottom, D-. What I found and what we focus on is getting in the B- C+ area. Basically, in A areas, stuff is really expensive, so you don't really make as much cash flow, and there's like a lot more competition in A areas, I think. B areas are more like white collar areas. Like say, I live in Point Breeze right now. I'd say this is like a B plus area. Also, it's also, you're not going to make as much cash flow as you would in a C plus area. Like if you're trying to buy a house around here, you're going to pay $300,000 for a 2-story house, and that's only going to rent for probably $1,700 a month, maybe $2,000 a month. But your mortgage is going to be that much, if not more. So what we focus on is, we really focus on, like I said, the C areas, which West Philly, most of West Philly, University City, the nicer parts are like B plus, maybe A minus areas where things are really expensive near Penn's campus and Drexel's campus and all that. But when you go a little bit further out, you get a little bit more blue collar areas where you can buy a place. You can buy a house for $100,000 and it'll rent for $1,300 or $1,400 a month. So there's room there. Same thing with multi-families. You've got room, you can actually make cash flow. That's what I've found. And when everything hits the fan, like right now, and the economy goes down, I think a lot of people downgrade from A and B areas to B and C areas. So I think there's always I personally think there's a bigger pool of tenants in C areas, and it's more recession proof. So just some of the basic questions. The other basic questions you're going to ask yourself is like, why is somebody going to live here? In West Philly, people are going to live there, for example, because you still get access to public transportation. You can get downtown. If you're along the L or along one of the trolley lines, you can get downtown in 15 minutes. You have markets and all that. The rent is affordable. What is going on in your area? In West Philly, there's decent amount happening. There's like big developments going on all the way down Market Street, and Lancaster Avenue is changing little by little and all that. What political factors are affecting the area? There's not too much on my radar, particularly about where we're investing. And then just make sure you know, am I buying for cash flow or appreciation? Oops. Oh, 1 second, guys. Yeah. So I'm making sure we can get this link out to you of the SMART goals worksheet. The link of the SMART goals. Okay. So make sure you know what you're buying for, cash flow or appreciation. Usually if you're buying something for high cash flow, it's tough to get the best of both. When you're buying in really nice areas, over the long term, they tend to appreciate more. But in an area like Philly, where so many neighborhoods are changing crazy fast, you've been able to, I should say, I don't know how it's gonna change when the economy is gonna be on the downturn, which I think it's gonna happen this next 5 years. Who the heck knows how long it's gonna be? But areas where you're getting a lot of cash flow sometimes tend to not appreciate as fast. But if you're smart in Philly, you can get the best of both worlds. Know your dollar per square foot. This is a cool calculation. I think it's good to know because it allows you to compare one area to the other very easily. So if and when I say dollar per square foot, how much it's going to cost you to buy something per dollar per square foot, and then how much it's going to cost you to, like, your rehab dollar per square foot or your construction dollar per square foot. So in Rittenhouse, if you have, I don't know, the dollars per square foot vary so much, it probably goes up to $1,000 a square foot. If you're buying condos in 10 Rittenhouse and they're only 1,000 square feet, but they're $1 million, it's $1,000 per square foot. In West Philly, if you're buying a house that's 1,100 square feet and it's going to cost you $150,000, it's only $130 a square foot. So I just make benchmarks in my head, and that helps me compare one place to another. Like in Point Breeze, like I said, I live on Manton Street, and you're going to buy a house that's, I'm in a 1,000 square foot house, and it would cost $300,000. So it's $300 a square foot. So it's cool. You can make these benchmarks, and okay, this zip code is $300 a foot, and this one's $100 a foot, and this one's $1,000 a foot. And it lets you compare one area to another. And then just be resourceful. We're all realtors, so it's really easy to get a lot of this information. for the MLS and otherwise. And we've got the links in the conversation for you guys for the Build Your Team worksheet and the Smart Goals worksheet. So that's all the slides I got. If you have any questions, I will talk about one of the systems we're using just because I'm super excited about it and we've been using it recently. I'm going to share my other screen in a second here, but if you guys have any questions, I know I ran through some of that pretty quick. I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. And if not, I'll go through an example of if you really want to get into rehabbing places or doing construction, or I should say heavy construction, not like light rehabs, where we're getting ourselves up on this cool thing called Smart Sheet, which I'm geeking out on right now. Let me see here. Yeah, we'll start here. The reason I want to show this to you guys is because it's a good example of a system that can help you track things. You got a lot of numbers going on here. Personally, like for a lot of the rehabs that we've been doing, a lot of this has been up in my head and I never really put it on paper, like the amounts and the time. I mean, we track stuff and we do our bookkeeping at the end of the year, so we know how much stuff costs, but this is really helping us to get an idea of what's going on in real time. And I've never had this much clarity before. Like I'm almost, we only have a couple rehabs going on right now, but it really helps to know every day at any point in time, basically, once we're finished setting this up in a couple weeks, I'm going to be able to know like on any day, like, okay, this is how much I've spent in each project. This is where I'm at timeline wise, all that. So you know what I should do? I'll just walk you guys through this example and show you where this place is at. So this place is basically a triplex in West Philly, which we bought off the MLS. And if you've been in my class before, I know I've talked about it. So these deals exist out there. Oops, there we go. So we're right off of, you can see the map here. We're right off of, this is Girard Avenue. This is Lancaster Avenue, right off of Belmont and Lancaster. It's 42nd, 43rd in Lancaster, not too far from downtown. So this is another one that we have, one of the first ones we got. It's a duplex, and then we were lucky enough that this place right next door got listed for like $70,000, and we bought it for like 71 or something. It's a triplex, and it's bigger. Needs a ton of work though. So you can't really see in the out right there, but it's your standard 3-story building. You can buy stuff like this for like $7. I mean, now people are trying to get like $100,000 these days for triplexes, but you used to be able to get them for a little bit cheaper. And so a place like this is going to cost you, it used to cost a lot less, but at the end of the day, between everything you have, you can see, this is my total estimate here, what I think it's going to cost us. And this is like everything like total, even financing costs and all that. So it's going to cost you somewhere around $200,000 to rehab, and between all the interest and all that. And so I'll just reduce this so you can see the basic steps. But it's pretty simple. Like this is just an example of a system, right? You don't have to get this complicated if you don't want to, but it really helps us to be able to have this level of clarity. So there's only a couple basic steps in each project. Like we have the prep phase, which is nothing, just setting up utility bills, insurance, all that. Then we've got the permits. We had to take this one through zoning, which is why it costs a little bit more. It costs like, a little over $6,000 getting the permits and all of that. getting the plans drawn up. So, and then after you get your permits and plans together, then you're going to start your construction once you got your permits approved. So I think about construction in really two main phases. First one is just taking everything out you don't need to, and doing the rough in. So you got your demolition. We didn't have to do a sprinkler system here. We got lucky. The permit was approved without it. You're basically making the place watertight. So you take everything out, you do your waterproofing, you do the framing, you make sure you get all your windows in, your roof on, and then you're putting in all the mechanicals, your plumbing, electric, rough, and all that. And so we have numbers for all that stuff here. And this is cool because it shows us you can put your estimated numbers and then what it actually ended up costing you at the end of the day. And you can break it down between between labor and material and miscellaneous costs, which you really need to know. You need to know how much labor you're paying someone and how much the material actually costs for everything that you're doing, which I didn't really used to have clarity on. So, and that's it. So you've got, once you're all roughed in and you've got your electric, HVAC, and plumbing and all that roughed in and your place is watertight, then you're gonna finish everything off in phase 2. So you're going to be doing we wait to do the outside work until we've roughed stuff in, but you're going to insulate, and then you're going to put your drywall up, and then you're just going to get all that finishing stuff in there. Your kitchens, obviously you have your appliances, cabinets, countertops, all that. You're going to get all your washers and dryers, all your flooring, hardwood, tile, vinyl, finished materials, plumbing, finished stuff, toilets, sinks, all that good stuff. And so I won't get too deep into it, but basically the point is, like, you have to take your time at the beginning of a project to put all of this in there so you know exactly what you're getting into, which I think, I wasn't doing. I mean, I knew roughly what things would cost, and I'm usually pretty accurate with our costs, but I see a question here. Can I share that template? I can share a rehab cost template, which is what I use to make this. With Smartsheet, I think I can export it to Excel, and I'll see if I can share this particular one. But it might change. If it's an Excel file, I don't know if it's going to work the same way. I'll see if I can work on sharing this. I have something that's very similar to this that I can share that's probably going to be easier for you to use. So, all right, let me get back here. But the point is, you guys want to make sure you have a system together. And all right. So that's all I got. I think we're good on time here. We're at 12:43. I'm happy to stick around if you guys have any questions. This is really supposed to be just a basic class. I can talk about whatever you want me to talk about for the next 17 minutes. If you want to talk about particular areas, whether there's something on the MLS or run something by me, happy to go into it. Because Q&A is usually a big part of all of our classes. Otherwise, I'm going to, I guess actually if we don't have any questions, I'll give it a couple minutes, but I think it'll be good to just end it here. And then I can work on seeing if I can export this template. So if anybody has any questions, now is the time. Otherwise, we're going to end the class. Going once. All right, going twice. All right, good to. Cool, all right. Oh yeah, my contact information, I'll just type it in here before we go. My email and my phone number. Thank you guys for coming and for listening in. Oops. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out or come to any of the classes. And I hope we're able to get back into physical classes soon here. And that's my cell phone. So please don't blow me up too much. Send me a text or something if I don't pick up. Awesome. And and if you haven't, make sure you go back in the chat and get the links for the SMART goals and building your team spreadsheet. And then I don't know how we're going to get the other one out. Do we have a, Lee, I don't know if you can hear this, but do we have a list of people who are here so we can get the other spreadsheet out?
So I don't have that. I can just give them my email and everybody can just email me and I'll just respond with it, no problem.
Great idea. Yes. We're going to type in Leah's email. Oh, sorry guys. I just realized I put my contact info here. It went directly to Leah, not to everybody. We're going to change that right now. That's why nobody's seeing it.
So my email is the one I just put in, the RX Ross Assist. If you guys can just email me and then I will send it to you guys. That would just make everything a lot easier.
Nice. All right. So hopefully everybody's got it who needs it. And with that, I think it's good to wrap it up. So thank you guys for coming. I don't know, how are you going to end this call?